Thank you, and thank you to the Senator from California for her long advocacy on behalf of women across this country to be able to access health care that they choose. Mr. President, tomorrow the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in the case of Whole Woman's Health versus Hellerstedt. And at its core, this is a case about whether extreme right-wing politicians will be allowed to block women from exercising their constitutionally protected health care rights, rights that have been affirmed by the Supreme Court for more than 4 decades now. So, Mr. President, for women across the country and for our daughters and our granddaughters, there's truly a lot at stake. And I've been so inspired to see women of all ages from across the country standing up now to share their stories and make sure the Supreme Court knows why politicians should not be able to make women's health care decisions. In fact, Mr. President, 113 lawyers submitted an amicus brief to the Supreme Court explaining the difference that constitutionally protected reproductive rights have made in their own lives. The stories they tell are incredibly powerful. One partner at a major law firm wrote that after 3 miscarriages, quote, "My husband and I were delighted when I again became pregnant in December 1999 and safely made it past the danger zone of the first trimester, passing an amnio with flying colors. But," she wrote, "5 weeks later, when I was heading into the 6th month of my pregnancy, I returned to the doctor for a routine ultrasound, and the doctor immediately detected a problem. Mr. President, her baby had a rare heart defect, so severe that he was already in congestive heart failure and would be born only to suffer if he survived at all. After talking with her doctors and her husband, they made the decision to terminate her pregnancy." And she wrote, quote, "As a woman, a mother, and a lawyer, I know I did the right thing. I've shared my story with my children and hope that should my daughter ever find herself in a position similar to mine, she will enjoy the same rights that were available to me," end quote. Mr. President, it should go without saying, but politicians have absolutely no place in such a deeply personal, extraordinarily difficult decision. Unfortunately, the Texas clinic shutdown law being challenged in Whole Woman's Health versus Hellerstedt is a law that has been driven by extreme right-wing politicians who want to undermine women's access to health care. Would mean the exact opposite. That law and laws like the one that's allowed to stand in Louisiana just last week places burdens that health experts like the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists say are medically unnecessary on clinics in order to shut them down and make it harder for women to exercise their constitutionally protected reproductive rights. If the Supreme Court fails to block this law, 3/4 of the clinics that provide abortion services, as well as other health care in Texas, would be forced to close, leaving 5.4 million women in Texas with just 10 clinics statewide. Hundreds of thousands of Texas women would have to drive 300 miles round trip just to get care they need. Mr. President, if that's not an undue burden, I don't know what is. And a ruling upholding the Texas clinic shutdown law wouldn't just impact women in Texas. It would make it easier nationwide for politicians to interfere with women's health care and block them from exercising their constitutional right. That would be the wrong direction for women. It would be the wrong direction for families and for our country as a whole. And that's why tomorrow, women and men from all over the country will be outside the Supreme Court standing up for women's health and rights and opportunity. And I will be very proud to be right there with them, because we are going to be sending a very clear message. A right means nothing without the ability to exercise that right. Mr. President, I hope the justices listen, realizing how much this ruling means to women's lives. And ultimately, I hope that they will rule in favor of ensuring women's health and rights continue to progress rather than going backward. I know that our country will be stronger for it.